Journey with Judy.
Honest, open, transparent. It's hot.
There's no such thing as perfect people. There's no such thing as a perfect life. So come as you are, broken and scarred. Lift up your heart and be amazed and be changed by a perfect God.
Wow. I am without words this morning as I listen to the chorus of that Natalie Grant song. There is no such thing as perfect people. Come as you are, broken and scarred. And I am here to tell you, as you journey with Judy, that is exactly who I am, and that is exactly what I have been. And I come here before you today amazed, absolutely, utterly amazed by the perfect God who has changed my heart and allowed this opportunity to become a reality. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Judy Hehr. I live here in Fontana, and it is my absolute privilege to stand before you 5 months after procrastinating another invitation, another door opened by God for me to proclaim some hope and some healing and some help to people who are much on the journey like myself. So suddenly it is like a weight has been lifted, as this Natalie Grant song says. The whole song could be my mantra. I've spent my entire life never letting them see me break, always putting on a crooked smile, always trying to be perfect. And as this song says over and over and over, there is no such thing as perfect people. I'd like to thank you for joining me this morning on Journey with Judy. And I'd like to start off by defining exactly what a journey is. And it is an act of traveling from one place to another. And those of you who know me know that I did exactly that. I traveled. And my journey consisted of extreme highs and the lowest of lows. And I stand before you today to tell you that I was bankrupt and became a millionaire, a drug addict and became a healthy mother of 4, a college dropout to a seminary graduate, a scorned, almost divorced woman, to digging my man after 18 years of marriage. And I hope that you could look at any one of these events and realize that at some point, as we get to know one another, you're going to realize that at every stage of this journey, I was so very lost. And I'm here to tell you at age 45, I know that lost is a place. It is a place that I sought, and it is a place that I hid for the first years of my life. I spent time running to and running from, until this perfect God came into my life and said, oh no, baby, I have plans for you, plans to give you a future and a hope. And I know that it was not the direction of my life, but the intentions of my life that I'd like to share with you. And the intention for the majority of my life was to hide, to run and to hide from who it was that I was supposed to be because of my own uncertainty and my own past experiences. A good indicator of the future is to take a look at the past. I believe today that my history is my destiny, and I'd like to share with you about my game of hide and seek that I played for most of my life. So I'll ask you to stick with me. We have to take a break now. We'll be back in just a few minutes. You're listening to Journey with Judy on Lake 96.1. Thank you for joining me this morning. You are listening to Journey with Judy right here on Lake 96.1. I may sound familiar because I've had the privilege of sitting in on the Life Matters show with Dave and Nancy a few times in the last 5 months as I have continued to procrastinate this invitation for my own show, for a show to share my journey of faith with you as a wife, as a mother, as a person of faith. And I'd like to give you a quote this morning. A person often meets his destiny on the road they took to avoid it. And if you weren't listening before and you're just tuning in now, we were talking a little bit about my personal journey and what has brought me here at this point in my life. And I think I could sum it up really well by asking you to take a minute and just think back to the game of hide and seek. And whether you played that game as a kid, whether you play it with your own children, or maybe some of you even with your grandchildren doing the simple peekaboo thing. The object of that game was to hide. And it was to hide in the best place possible and to not be found. And I think to even say, like I did some interviewing before this show, I asked my kids, I asked my man, I asked my sister, do you remember the game of hide and seek? And they all said it was a resounding yes. And I said, what was the object of the game? And they said to hide. Of course it was. That was the object, to hide. But equally as much as the desire to find the perfect hiding spot was the exhilarating feeling that you got when you were found, yes or not. And again, the response was yes. There was something about wanting to be in such a place of hiding that you wouldn't be found, but there was something equally as exciting as actually being found. And I think it's safe to say that once you were found, that spot became no longer a spot that you would hide in. So you just got more creative as the game went on. And so I talked to one person who said, you know what? I never got caught. And unfortunately, I do not share those same sentiments. My life has been absolutely a hide and seek game. And it continued until age 45. As a mother of 4, married 17 years, the hiding and the seeking has to some degree stopped. I've spent my entire life hiding behind something or someone. As a child, it was hiding behind perfectionism. If I could do everything right, I would get your approval. I would have your affirmation. I would be loved and accepted. And we all know that's what we want as human beings. And then after the death of my mother, I hid behind my addictions to drugs and alcohol. Before that, it was a hiding behind an eating disorder. Then, as God would have it, he picked me up and put me in another situation where my gifts and talents were used, and I became a very successful person. And what did I do then? I hid behind my successes. And then I became a married woman, and I hid behind my marriage. And so this game of hide and seek, as you can see, is something that I absolutely, unequivocally mastered. And motherhood was just another opportunity to try to hide. And the way I hid was I made it look perfect. And I perfected the art of having you from the outside look at my life and think I had it all together. With my crooked smile, as the song says in the intro. But it only lasted for many years for me, but really for a little while. And what I can tell you about my life experiences, as much as I've been at the top, the lowest of lows, the highest of highs, it was only at the lowest of lows, the valleys, the biggest valleys in my life where I was even remotely a teachable person. And I can tell you that the way you do anything is the way you do everything, and that is what I do. And for the majority of my life, I did everything for all the wrong reasons. And if you ask any of my children, if you start this sentence, they will finish it. All excess is rooted in, and they would answer a resounding emptiness. And I know now at age 45 that everything that I hid from and everything that I grasped to help me not embrace this person that I'm supposed to be with this purpose that was created for me was just a really lame attempt of hide and seek. And no one is happier than me that I have been found. And nobody is happier than me that I've been found, because it's been exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting trying to pretend. I use the expression perfect pretenses. And I think, whether it's women or men, I think we're all posers in some way, shape, or form. And we put out there what it is we think people want to see or who it is we think we're supposed to be, when the reality is, when we are finally found and we can actually look within, what we were looking for all along wrong, I believe that we come to find it was there the whole time. And this thing about my history being my destiny, I mean, I spent my entire life trying to undo what I had become, and the shame and the guilt that came with the choices that I made just were so prevalent in every part of my being. I mean, it just permeated my business dealings, the way I mothered, the way I was a spouse, the way I was a friend. And certainly a person of faith was not even on my radar at that point. And, the bottom line is hurt people, and that's what I was. And, you've heard about some of these highlights in my life. And I think most people would grasp on to the rags to riches part. But the reality is, it's the restoration of a relationship that is really the most profound aspect of what changed me. I will tell you that all the glory goes to God for all the things that I've been through and all the things that I've accomplished in my life. I mean, he can just use anything and anyone to accomplish his purposes once we lay it down and let him do that. But if you look at my journey, you might resonate with the eating disorder, the drug addiction. Like, the bottom line is I was a slave to everything and everyone, which is why I was always hiding. And even though there was always some positive thing on the other side of the gloom and doom, I was a college dropout, but then I was a seminary graduate. I was a drug addict, but then I was a healthy mother of 4. The bottom line is my circumstances changed, but nothing changes when nothing changes. And everything that changed about my life until age 37 was external. And I grasped from the outside by hiding. And it's funny because my 10-year-old daughter, I was asking her about this hide and seek thing. And I said, Cam, do you remember the game hide and seek? And she said, you know what, Mom, you asked me the dumbest questions in Walmart. And I said, baby, I need your help with Mommy's show. I'm going to start this show tomorrow, and I need to know that people can relate to what I'm saying. And she said, my best hiding spot is in the basement when I put on your big fur coat and your super expensive boots. And I looked at her, and I got that thing in my throat, and I said to her, baby, I spent so many years of my life hiding in that same way, behind all that stuff. And the lasting change for me in my life was the 2x4 that came, it was served up by the Lord, I believe 100%, in my marriage about 8 years ago. Because that's when I was truly found, and that's when every mask and every false sense of who I was ripped out from underneath me. And it's funny because I would stand before anybody today and tell you that the shame and the guilt and the pain that I lived was something I wanted so desperately to hide. But I know today that unshared pain is wasted pain, and whatever our pain is, it's relevant in some way to somebody on this journey called life. And I would change nothing about the brokenness. I would change nothing about the destruction and the demented and the deformed desires that directed my heart and my journey for many, many years, because it's now that I can actually view the lens in a much different way as a person of faith who knew that I was never alone on the journey. There was always hope for the future, and that all I needed to do was just step back and breathe and know that it's not the destination, but the journey that changes us. So thanks for hanging with me this morning. Unfortunately, we got a break again. You are listening to Journey with Judy on Lake 96.1. When we come back, we're going to talk about perception versus perfection and how it applies to you today in this journey called life. Okay, we're back. Thanks for listening. You are listening to Journey with Judy on Lake 96.1. And I'm here to tell you that the only way out is through. The only way out is through. And I find that really comical because I hear my 16-year-old son saying that to girls with broken hearts. The only way out is through. And we were talking before the break about perfection versus perception. And it's so funny because in my journey called life, I've always felt isolated and alone, that I should be in a padded room all by myself because nobody shares my same fears and concerns and uncertainties and doubts. And as the Lord has such a great sense of humor, I sit before you today in a padded room just with one other person pushing buttons and nodding his head to affirm me because he knows how totally insecure I am. And so I just want to say that I am so jacked to be here, and I think as the minutes go on, I get a little bit more comfortable. But those of you who know me know I'm a spaz by nature. So let's keep going here. The perception. We know that perception is reality. And, nothing changes when nothing changes. However, the things we look at change when we change the way we look at things. And so it's funny because with my children, I always try to tell them that everything is a get to. Like they say, do we have to go to church on Sunday? And I say, no, baby, we get to. And then my husband says, do we have to go to this stupid sporting event? And I say, no, baby, we get to. And so when it comes to perception, when we look at things as a get to in life instead of a have to, I think it allows us as people just to embrace it more willingly. So those of you who have to take care of your spouse or have to take care of your children or have to work. And I walked in here this morning and I said, I have to do this radio show. And Dave looked at me and he said, I am so mad at you. You preach to people on what to do and you don't do it yourself. And you know what? I'm here to tell you that you can take my advice because generally I am not using it. And I think that when I speak these truths out into the life of the people that God puts in my path, I really welcome them to spew it back to me, whether it's my man saying it's a get to, that you get to help me with the laundry, or my kids saying it's a get to, that you get to drive me to my friend's house. It helps me put things back in the proper perspective. And, I'm just a person who's trying to do everything in a way that's perfect too. Like I want to be the perfect mom and the perfect wife, perfect mother, perfect person of faith. And I know now that the definition of perfection is to be able to incorporate imperfection. And so I know as a woman, I am always measuring up to and measuring up for. And the reality is, like, I need other people to come alongside of me and say, baby, it's enough. What you are doing is just enough. And I am guilty as charged of trying to get to the destination and not embracing the journey. I said to my man on the way here who's sitting with me because I love him and I need his support. I said to him, I can't wait till this is over. And then I thought to myself, that's a total contradiction of what it is that I am trying to have resonate in your spirit this morning, which is, it is the journey and not the destination that we get to embrace, that we get to apply to our daily lives, that we get to leave this world better than we found it because we are mindful of the moment, we are grateful for the opportunities, and we're just looking at this life like a total get to. So we got to take one more break. Thank you so much for listening. Please hang with me for the next segment. You're listening to Journey with Judy on Lake 96.1. I'd like to thank you for coming back. You are listening to Journey with Judy right here on Lake 96.1. And we've been talking about hiding and seeking and perfection and perception this morning and what all that means in this thing called life. And, I was asked by so many people why I've chosen finally, after 5 months of procrastinating, when I knew I was supposed to be doing this, why I finally said yes. And I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier in the show was I just got sick and tired of hiding from what it is that I know I'm called to do, what it is that I know I'm called to be, and the fact that it could absolutely benefit somebody else for me to stand before you broken and scarred, as the song says, with my crooked smile, no longer apologizing for my past, but actually embracing and encouraging you to do the same, to know that your history may very well be your destiny. And I spent much of my life in search of something and running away and from. We talked a little bit about that. But here's what I know is that a person who finds no satisfaction in themselves will seek it in vain elsewhere. And that is what I've done, and I no longer want to be that person. I want to know that this journey is I want you to know that this journey is the ability to incorporate the imperfection. That's what makes you perfect, just as you are. Your willingness to stand before another person and say, me too. And I may not have gone where I intended to go, but I think I ended up exactly where I intended to be. And that is a person who can look back, look in life in reverse. I think that's why they have the rear view mirror so small and the windshield so big. And if you drive with me, every one of my people that drive with me, my family especially, will tell you that I am the worst driver ever, that I never even look backwards. Like I just go forward, kind of like Mr. Magoo. And my husband says, well, that's why they have that rear view mirror. And it took so much of my life to stop looking in the past. And so I will always say to them, you don't understand. I've had to train myself to think different, to act different, to feel different. And that is always allowing me to look forward to the future and the hope that I know that God has planned for me, and not to continue to look back. Because even though I'm not what I want to be, I am so not what I was. And I encourage you to embrace this journey with me every Sunday, 7:30 a.m. I need you. I need you to do this with me. And I am hoping that you will find hope and healing, and you will journey with me from your own sense of brokenness, whatever that is. Like, it's all relative. We all have it. The first time Jesus spoke, he said, I have come to heal the brokenhearted. And I don't recall the rest of that scripture verse saying, except those in Walworth County, because the destination sets the tone for travel. Always, every time. And the destination for us is to be hot, to be honest, to be open, to be transparent about who we've been, who we are, and who we want to be. So I look forward to you joining me next week right here on Journey with Judy on Lake 96.1. We'll do it. We'll get through it together. Please stay tuned. Dave and Nancy coming up next with Life Matters.